Let's bring in our legal panel right now. Mercedes Cohen is here. She's a Fox News legal analyst. And Alex Little, a defense attorney and former assistant U.S. attorney. I want to start with you, Mercedes,
Sure.
that perhaps they could, subpoena the White House for any sort of recordings?
They can. In fact, the courts have held that even if you try to impose, if the executive branch wants to impose what's called an executive privilege, to stop it, the courts don't support that, especially if it's considered a criminal investigation. So they can subpoena the White House and seek those the documents, seek the tapes if they do exist. They can do all of that.
Yeah, but what if President Trump just says, I was just messing with Comey. There are no tapes, nothing to hand over. Is that the end?
Well, that would presumably be the end. I mean, it could go beyond that, and President Trump has said that he is willing to come forward and testify. And so I'll come forward and testify if that's what needs to be done. So frankly, it's not going to stop necessarily at what might be represented by the executive branch. It can go beyond and seek his testimony.
So, Alex, if President Trump actually does have some sort of recording of the conversation, but he doesn't want to hand it over, what stops the president from saying, no, really, there are no tapes? I mean, how would members of the House Intelligence Committee even know?
They wouldn't know, but what you're suggesting is that a president would lie to Congress directly. And I think the thing that stops that are his lawyers, are the other people in the White House who would have to keep up that lie for President Trump. I think that would be an extreme step, but I think it's much more likely that he was bluffing and somebody's going to have to come forward and say, you know, he said this, it wasn't true.
Yeah, and Mercedes, if there are the tapes or the recording to be handed over, then what happens after that information is handed over?
Well, it's amazing because if you hear the description of what Mueller is amassing, his team, what he's called the investigative body that he has to support the investigation, he says he needs 50 to 100 lawyers and investigators. That's unbelievable. I mean, we're talking this investigation contained an unbelievable amount of time. The last time we had an investigatory body of this size, it was 9/11. Before then, it was Watergate. So we're talking this massive investigation that Special Counsel Mueller is attempting to on taxpayers' dollars, is amassing, which will be, it could be years before we know what really truly happened, if
Alex,
anything.
is this worth it? Is this a witch hunt, as it has been called by the president?
I mean, it's hard to say at this end whether it's a witch hunt or not, but based on what we know and the statements that have been made and already the revelations in the press, we're talking about the most serious form of treason taking place. And if that's an investigation to determine whether or not it happened, of course it's worth it. And they need to spend every dollar they can to uncover the truth and to make sure the American people know what happened in the election.
Alex, I'll stay with you. Meanwhile, President Trump is tweeting that I am being investigated. His attorney says the president is not confirming that he's actually being investigated. The president was tweeting about the report that says he's being investigated. Does that reasoning fly?
No, it doesn't. And it really brings to head two different issues that President Trump has in this investigation. One is his hubris, and one is his inability to follow his lawyers' directives. There's no doubt in my mind, or any reasonable lawyer's mind, that his lawyers are telling him not to talk about this, not to tweet about this, but he keeps doing it. And he's going to keep stepping, I think, really in some mines, because the minefield in this sort of investigation is extremely dangerous. It doesn't convince anybody that he's not under investigation, or his lawyers going out and saying that aren't helping his cause.
Except that we had during the testimony by Comey that he had said repeatedly to the president that he himself personally was not under investigation.
But that's
so whether
changed.
He is
That's
or
clearly
not, and frankly,
changed.
But whether he is or not, the FBI may not necessarily tell us. We'll have to wait and see. I mean, this is just the tip of the iceberg, Arthel. There's so much to be had here in terms of the investigation. The fact that Mueller is just now amassing the group that he needs, and we know that he's had a handful of appointments thus far, but he's talking about up to 100 people that's going to assist him in the investigation. We're nowhere near what this investigation, the breadth of it, who's the focus, what's going to be done. There is nothing there's too many shifting issues right now, and frankly, we're not going to know for a long time.
And so, Alex, do you see a straight and narrow path ahead, or is this going to be a long and winding road to get to the answers?
Every week there's been a new revelation, a new change. I think what's going to happen is events occur, it's going to change the course of this. So it's absolutely going to be twisting, and it's unfortunate for the American people. We have to go through this.
Well, any final thoughts? Right, quick, Mercedes, 20 seconds I can give you.
Well, I mean, frankly, we just have to wait back and see what's going to happen. There's going to be a lot of patience. This is just, like I said, the beginning of a very long and expensive process for the American people.
Okay, we leave it there. Mercedes Colwin, Alex Little, I'm not sure if you're a father. If you are, happy Father's Day. If not, happy
Thank
Dad's
you.
Day to your dad.
Thanks,
you very much.
Arthel.
You got it. Take care, guys.
Bye.